Welcome back to TaraChessAcademy. Today we're going to discuss the 11th game of the match. Jan is playing white and Magnus is playing black.
Hi everyone. Yeah, today's game is really nice. So let's start with this position. From this position, the most interesting things began. So in this position, Jan unfortunately made a mistake, so he played g3. Yeah, you may think that this move is okay because when the rook moves away somewhere, yeah, black can capture the pawn on d4. Actually, probably instead of playing g3, white also could capture the pawn on d4. Yeah, but let's go back to the game and see why g3 is such a big mistake. Maybe in this position, Jan didn't calculate variation with taking the knight. Yeah, so it looks like an intermediate move. Yeah, because the most obvious move is just to take care about the rook. But Magnus found a nice combination, so he just captured the knight. And it helps black to destroy position of the white king. Yeah, so of course white can't ignore this, and of course white shouldn't take the pawn because then black just has an extra knight. So that's why white captures the rook. So in this position, you have two good checks. Yeah, so it could be queen takes g4 or pawn takes f2. So as you remember in chess, we should think about several possibilities, candidate moves, and then when we calculate them and compare, we have to choose the best. So Tara, what do you think? Which check would be better in this position? Taking the pawn with a pawn or taking the pawn with a queen?
If we try pawn takes f2.
Probably I take with a queen because I want to move my pieces closer to the king. I want to defend the king.
Then if we capture the pawn with the queen, the problem with this is that the white queen can go to g2 and block the check. And then the queen is giving the king shelter.
Yeah, of course. So we don't want white to protect the king. Yeah, so let's go back and now let's discuss what happens after queen takes g4. Yeah, so the king looks pretty lonely and no one can help. So that's why queen takes g4 is much better move than taking the pawn on f2. So king goes to f1.
When the queen captures the pawn on g4, the white queen can't block because here there's a pawn in the way. But if we capture the pawn on f2 and then we give a check, the queen could block. So that's why capturing the pawn on g4 is better, because then the white queen can't block. So that's why we should capture g4.
Yeah, of course. So the king escapes. In this position, Magnus made a check. So king moves to g1. Yeah, so I think queen h3 was a nice move because now black controls this diagonal, and it means that the king can't escape. Yeah. And in this position, Magnus played knight f5. So this move is nice, yeah, because of course, if you have an attack at the king of your opponent, usually just one piece is not enough. So it's better for you to use new pieces in your attack. It's gonna improve it. But I think that instead of knight f5, black also has one interesting possibility. So yeah, you remember that just like a minute ago, we told you that it's not good to capture the pawn because the queen can help. Yeah. But I think if now we capture the pawn, queen takes. Yeah. By the way, why it's not so good to capture with a king? What happens if the king takes?
Now we can make a skewer if our queen goes to h2.
Yeah, of course.
Then we win the white queen.
Yeah. So that's why queen takes, yeah. And maybe knight f5 is not so powerful in this position. But now I think it's time to use your rook. So Tara, what ideas do you have? How could black use the rook and move it closer to the king?
We could try our rook to d6.
Yeah,
That's
of course.
the only way to get the rook up and be able to go to the g file on the next move. Because if you went to d5, it brings the rook up, but then they could make a rook trade.
Of course. So yeah, we can just use the 6th rank in this position. We want to get to g6. You see that the king still doesn't have any moves. Yeah, for instance, if white plays rook e2, yeah, this variation could happen. And so black has a queen, a knight for 2 rooks, yeah. So 2 extra pawns, or sorry, 1 extra pawn. So, and of course, position of the white king is not good. Yeah, so it's also one of the possible ways how to improve position. Yeah, typical plan, you just use the 3rd rank or the 6th rank if you play black for the rook. But let's go back to the game. So Magnus preferred to play knight f5. Yeah. Okay, so Jan answered d6. Yeah, it looks like he said, okay, nothing interesting at the king side, go back to the queen side. So, but of course, black just ignores this, and Magnus just moved the knight closer to the king. Yeah, so black has a plan to mate in 1. Yeah, and by the way, I think that knight f3 also looks nice. Yeah, a nice plan. It also could be made. Okay, so in this position, white captures. So interesting. In this position, Magnus played queen g3. Yeah. Let's think what happens if he could play knight f3 immediately.
Then it's attacking the king and the rook. So the king would move to f2. Instead of capturing the rook, we would win the queen by moving our queen to h2, and it's another skewer.
Okay. So yeah, but I'm just curious. In this position, it looks like we have a queen for the rook, but is it possible to capture the pawn? So interesting. Could black stop this pawn?
It's
So
going to be, I think there's no way because our queen doesn't have any checks.
any good
And
checks, yeah. So of course,
yeah,
checks like this don't make any sense.
yeah.
So, and even if you capture the rook with a rook, it's not a check, yeah. So to play rook c8 doesn't look like such a good idea. Yeah, if something like this happens, probably after rook d8, yeah. I don't see what black can do. So of course, things like this could happen, maybe, yeah, but so it looks like position like this still goes to the end game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but nice. So interesting. In this position, Magnus played queen g3, check. So king f1, and now he plays knight f3. So queen f2, he still wants to change queens, but he wants the white king to get a little bit more far away from the center and from the pawn e3. So that's why he makes a check, and after queen g2, only in this position he traded queens. So queen takes, king takes, yeah, and finally Magnus got the end game with an extra pawn. So black controls an open file. H pawn is a passed pawn in this position. So yeah, I think maybe it was just his choice to get a calm position, yeah, because for some reason it was important for him to win this game.
So if you notice from at the beginning position of this study, if Jan didn't play g3, the game, it might have been a draw, because when you did g3, there was this tactic of capturing the knight and then attacking the weak king. But if you tried something else like rook d4, the game might have been a draw because it's still very equal, and black black doesn't have a big attack, so it might have been a draw if they played rook d4.
Yeah, I agree. But what happened? Yeah, g3 happened.
Yeah.
So, and what happened after this game finished?
Before this game, Magnus had a 3-point advantage, so the score was 6.5, and he needs 7.5 or more points to win. So before this game, he had 6.5, and because he won, he's the new he remains the world champion.
Yeah. So instead of 14 games, they were 11 games in the match, and Magnus still a world chess champion. So this game helped
Yes.
him a lot. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to others. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
Bye.